The wedding standoff. On my wedding day, my parents told me to take my fiancé off the guest list, or they would leave. I took a deep breath and said, okay, then go. My mom looked shocked. You're choosing him over us? I smiled and said, watch me. They didn't say a word. Weddings are supposed to be about love and bringing families together. But for me, it became the day I finally chose myself, something I'd never done before. From the moment my parents arrived that morning, I could tell something was wrong. They looked upset, and the air felt tense. My mom wore a fancy navy blue dress. She even acted like it was more important than my wedding dress. She clutched her pearls like she was ready to fight. My dad stood stiffly beside her, arms crossed and looking unhappy. They didn't care about the beautiful barn we had picked or the flowers we had arranged. They were there for one reason, to take control, like always. While I was getting ready in the bridal suite, makeup half done, dress still on the hanger, they barged in. We need to talk, my mom said sharply. I knew that tone. I'd obeyed it my whole life. But not today. Make it quick, I said calmly. She looked at my dad, who nodded, then turned back to me with a hard expression. We want you to remove Brian from the guest list. I was shocked. Brian, my fiancé, the man I loved, wasn't just a guest. He was the groom. What? I asked. My dad said, like I was being unreasonable, we've given you time to come to your senses. He's not right for you. We can't support this marriage. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You know he's the groom, right? My mom sighed dramatically. Then we're leaving. If you marry him, we're out. End of story. The room went quiet. My cousin Sophie, my maid of honor, froze mid-curling iron. My makeup artist paused with her brush in the air. I took a deep breath and said, okay, then leave. My mom gasped like I'd said something terrible. You'd choose him over us? I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I had finally made a decision for myself. Watch me. My mom stood there, speechless. My dad narrowed his eyes. We're your parents. And Brian is my future, I said. If you don't want to be part of that, that's your choice. My mom looked panicked. She wasn't expecting me to stand up for myself. She thought I'd cry and beg them to stay. But I didn't. She stepped closer and said coldly, you'll regret this. When he leaves you, don't come running back. I looked her in the eyes. If you walk out that door, don't expect me to come back at all. There was so much history between us, years of me being the good daughter who always listened. But not anymore. That day, I chose me. My mom turned and stormed out. My dad hesitated, maybe thinking I'd stop him. I didn't. He followed her. The room was quiet until Sophie finally said, damn. Didn't see that coming. I let out a long breath. It hurt, yes. But it also felt like I could finally breathe. Brian and I still got married that day, and I didn't look for my parents in the crowd. I didn't need to. I had finally let go of their control. But I had no idea what they were planning next. The honeymoon surprise. The wedding was beautiful. Brian and I danced under fairy lights, surrounded by people who truly cared about us. Sophie gave a funny and touching speech, and my in-laws were so happy for us. For the first time ever, I didn't feel like I needed my parents' approval. I thought the drama was over. I was wrong. A week later, Brian and I were in the Maldives, enjoying the sunshine and peace. No stress. No guilt. Just us. Until someone knocked on our door. It was the hotel manager. Mrs. Dawson? He asked. Yes? I said. Your parents called. They said it was an emergency and asked for your room number. I froze. Brian sat up quickly. What? They said there was a family crisis and you needed to call them right away. But when we asked for more info, they got aggressive. Of course they did. I smiled politely. Thanks for telling me. If they call again, please tell them I'm not available. He nodded and left, but the peaceful feeling was gone. Hindsight. They just won't stop, huh? They never do, I said. And I had no idea it was only going to get worse. The inheritance bombshell. 2 weeks later, we got home ready to enjoy married life. But instead of peace, we were greeted with a letter from a lawyer. I opened it, confused. My hands started to shake as I read. My parents had cut me out of their will. Everything, every cent, was left to my younger brother, Ethan. Now, I never expected any money. That wasn't the point. But the way they worded it, that hurt. Due to our daughter's poor life choices and disrespect toward her family, she is no longer part of our legacy. This decision is final. Final. I stared at the letter. Brian read it over my shoulder, his jaw tight. Wow. I laughed, bitterly. I should have seen this coming. But deep down, it still hurt. Because it wasn't about the money. It was about them making sure I knew they had completely cut me off. I knew I didn't matter to them anymore. And the worst part? My brother Ethan knew, and he didn't care. Ethan's call. A few days later, Ethan called me. For a second, I thought maybe he was calling to say he didn't agree with our parents, maybe even that he didn't want their money if it meant cutting me off. I was wrong. You really messed up, you know, he said, sounding way too pleased with himself. I clenched my jaw. What are you talking about? They did what they had to do. You picked Brian over them. Actions have consequences. His words felt like ice. And you're okay with this? He laughed. Of course I am. You made your choice. Now live with it. I could have fought back, shouted at him. But I didn't. I just said, enjoy the money, Ethan. Then I hung up. The smear campaign. I thought that was the end of it. I could have walked away and moved on. But my mom wasn't done. A week later, I started getting messages from friends and distant relatives. They all said the same kind of things. I can't believe you turned your back on your parents. You didn't even invite them to your wedding? That's cold. Your mom's post broke my heart. She's so hurt. I was confused until I checked Facebook. My mom had written a long, emotional post saying I cut her off, didn't let her come to my wedding, and that she was heartbroken. She made herself look like the victim. Thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments. Everyone supported her. And me? I was the villain in her story. My turn. I could have stayed quiet. But after everything they did to me? No way. So I told the truth. I wrote my own post, explaining it all, from the wedding ultimatum to the inheritance lies, to Ethan's betrayal and the online drama. At the end, I wrote, "You wanted everyone to hear your side, Mom. Now they've heard mine." I posted it. And that's when things really blew up. Secrets start to unravel. I expected some drama. People taking sides. Maybe some harsh messages. What I didn't expect was the truth starting to spill out. One comment stopped me cold. "I used to work for your dad. You might want to check where the inheritance money is really going." Brian read it too. What does that mean? I didn't know. But I was about to find out. The fake fortune. I called an old family friend, Mr. Carter. He had known my parents for years, though we hadn't spoken in a while. When I asked about the inheritance, he hesitated, then said, "I don't think there's any money left." What? I heard your dad made some bad business moves, lost a lot, but he won't admit it. I felt sick. So they cut me off from money that doesn't even exist? I can't say for sure, he replied, but you should look into it. So we did. The truth comes out. Brian and I dug through public records. What we found was shocking. My dad had taken out huge loans. His businesses had failed. He was even sued more than once. That big inheritance? Gone. They didn't cut me off because I chose Brian. They needed someone to blame, someone to make into the villain so they didn't have to admit they lost everything. Ethan's panic. The next day, Ethan called. "What the hell did you do?" he shouted. "What are you talking about?" I said calmly. "You told everyone our business. Mom and Dad are freaking out." I smirked. "Oh, now you care about the truth?" He got quiet, then he said, "You don't get it, the money," and stopped. That's when I knew. He already knew there was no inheritance. "You knew, didn't you?" Silence. Then softly, "It wasn't supposed to come out like this." They had lied to him too. Promised him money that didn't exist, turned him against me to keep him loyal. Now the truth was out, and his golden ticket was gone. My mom's last attempt. After that, everything went quiet, no more posts, no more drama. Then I got a text from my mom. "We need to talk, it's urgent." I ignored it, then another came. "Please, just meet me once." I showed it to Brian. "She's up to something," he said. I agreed to meet, but only in public. We met at a quiet cafe. She walked in looking tired and nervous. She sat down and said, "I didn't come to fight, I want to fix this." I waited. Then she said it. "Your father and I need money." I almost laughed. "What?" "Things are hard. Ethan can't handle it. You have a stable life. You could help us." I stared at her. "You cut me off, lied about me, made me the villain, and now you want my help?" She actually looked offended. "You owe us, after everything we did for you." I took a deep breath, then smiled. "Watch me." I got up and walked away. But that wasn't the end. Because what I learned next was even worse. I thought leaving that cafe and walking away from my mom was the final goodbye, but I was wrong. Because my parents weren't just broke, they were drowning in debt, and to save themselves, they did something unforgivable. The final betrayal. It started with a phone call from a number I didn't know. Normally I'd ignore it, but something told me to answer. "Is this Mrs. Dawson?" A voice asked. Yes, I replied, unsure. This is Detective Harris from the Financial Crimes Division. We need to talk to you about your parents. My heart dropped. Brian saw my face and came over right away. What's going on? He asked. I put the call on speaker. Go ahead, I told the detective. He didn't sugarcoat it. Your parents are being investigated for fraud and embezzlement. They took out loans by lying on the applications and didn't pay them back. We also have reason to believe they tried to take out a loan under your name. I froze. What? They used your social security number and personal info to try to get a big loan 6 months ago. It was denied, but flagged. Brian cursed under his breath. I just held onto the counter, trying not to fall over. You're saying my own parents tried to steal from me? The detective paused. I know this is hard to hear. We'd like you to come in and talk about your options. The rest of the call was a blur. My thoughts were racing. They tried to take a loan in my name. They were so desperate, they were willing to ruin my life to fix theirs. I felt sick. The confrontation. I didn't wait. I got in my car and drove straight to their house. I needed answers, face to face. My dad opened the door. When he saw my face, his smile disappeared. We're not doing this here, he said coldly. Oh yes, we are, I snapped, pushing past him. My mom was in the living room, sipping tea like nothing had happened. She didn't even look surprised. I assume you got my messages. I laughed, a cold, angry laugh. No, but I did get a call from the police. Her face went pale. What do you mean? I looked at my dad. They know about the fraud, about the loans, and they know you tried to use my name. He didn't say anything. He didn't deny it either. My mom, of course, got defensive. We were going to pay it back. My hands shook. That's your excuse? You stole my identity, you lied, and I'm supposed to believe you would have returned it? She stood up, smoothing her dress like that would fix anything. You don't understand. No, I said, raising my voice. You don't understand. You've spent my whole life trying to control me. You skipped my wedding because I didn't do what you wanted. You cut me out of your life, and now you try to steal from me? Also you can keep pretending everything's fine? Silence. My dad finally sat down, rubbing his temples. He knew it was over. But my mom? She still couldn't let it go. You're being dramatic. Families help each other in hard times. You're just being selfish. I stared at her in disbelief. Selfish? Are you actually serious right now? She crossed her arms. If you hadn't been so stubborn, none of this would have happened. You owe us after all we've done for you, but instead, you run off with that man and leave us behind. Brian. This was never really about money, or even family. It was about control. They would rather destroy me than admit they were wrong. And at that moment, I knew, there was nothing left to save. The aftermath. I walked out of their house and didn't look back. I went straight to the police and filed every report, fraud, identity theft, all of it. A few weeks later, I got the news, my parents were officially charged. My dad took a plea deal. He admitted everything for a lighter sentence. My mom? She denied everything. She called me crying, then begging, then threatening. I never picked up. Ethan called too. He wanted me to fix it, help them. I blocked him. Just like that, they lost everything. Closure. It's been over a year now. It still hurts sometimes. Losing your family, even a toxic one, leaves scars. There were nights I cried, wondering if I did the right thing. But then I remember the years of lies, the control, the moment they picked money over me. And I realize, I didn't lose a family, I set myself free. Brian has been by my side through it all. We've built a life together, without their shadows. And the best part? I have no regrets. Because for the first time ever, I chose me. And I'll never apologize for that.